What would you do if you were in 17,000 debt and even couldn't afford your kids' dinner tonight? Today our guest is Rhiannon. She used to manage a stripper club, and then came the pregnancy, the polite pushed out, the diaper, the debt, and the pressure. But she didn't stop there. She started from the equestrian marketing, a little bit niche, but step by step, she built her way to running it. And besides that, just within several years, she built several companies in different areas. And I asked her the key of her success. She said, strippers are the best sales in the world. I learned a lot from them. This episode isn't just about business. It's also about how to survive in job loss, bankruptcy, and new motherhood. And what's the psychology behind the good sales and what most people get wrong. Besides that, how your lowest point can become your strongest asset. This is what it really takes to start over and win. And could you please introduce yourself a little bit for our audiences?
Yeah, so I'm Rhiannon-Amber. I am the CEO and founder of 5 companies which I have built from nothing. And I suppose the big message that I have for everybody, whether it's in like the work that I'm doing, whether I'm working with businesses, whether I'm lecturing in colleges, the big message is, if I can do this from nothing, you can too. And you can make your ideas work if you're willing to do the work.
If now one of our audiences just very hesitate about should they spend like more than an hour to watch or listen this episode, how can we convince them it is very worth?
I would say if you're wanting to listen to this episode, you are going to find motivation. You are going to find a true no fluff story that will hopefully inspire you and make you feel like you're empowered and that you can do it too.
Okay, I think we can move to the most toughest moment of that. Toughest moment. Like, because at last discussion, I remember we talked about it a little bit, but not too much. Only like 3 years ago, you owned a debt about 17,000
£17,000 of debt.
And you even very struggle about buying food. We can say
that was very real. That was a very hard time. So I had been made redundant. So I was the manager of a chain of strip clubs. And obviously I worked as a dancer when I was like 18. And then I went to go work in corporate offices. I went to go work for utility companies. And I eventually got made the manager of these strip clubs. And then we came to like a mutual decision that I would leave my position for one reason or another. And obviously I received a payout and things, but that money doesn't get you too far. And from the moment that I was told I would lose my job, I started applying for other jobs. And then once you're over a certain point in pregnancy, you do have to tell people that you're pregnant. Because, and the reality is no one wants to hire you when you're going to have a baby in a couple of months, because they're not going to hire someone for you to not be there for 9 months. And I get it from a business perspective, but also they can't say to you, we're not hiring you because you're pregnant, because that would land them in a discrimination case, so they can't do that. So obviously I'm applying for jobs. I have no money coming in. Like, yeah, sure, you can apply for like help from the government and stuff, but when your outgoings are nearly twice what that amount is, you're in a huge deficit. So I started putting stuff on credit cards, and I was like, I've always been quite responsible with credit cards, quite responsible with debt, but there comes to a point where you're like, I need to feed my children. So you start spending on credit cards, like, I'll get a job soon, I'll pay it off, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
And then there gets to a point where your credit card gets maxed and your overdraft is maxed. And you've like taken out loans and stuff, and you're looking at all this debt that you've accrued in a few months, and I'm like,
oh my God.
Yeah, because when I was in my employed role, I'd bought a car and finance and stuff. So that was obviously like the bulk of the debt. And yeah, I'm buying food, I'm paying bills on credit cards. And this debt's piling, and I'm like, it's fine, I'll pay it off soon, I'll get a job. And the job didn't come. It gets to a point where my baby's due in a couple of weeks, and I checked my account and I was overdrawn by £800. And I was like, okay, so I physically can't spend on that. So I checked my other bank account, overdrawn by £4,000. Okay, can't spend on that account. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? Check my credit cards, all 3 credit cards, maxed out. And there's no food in the cupboards. My daughter needs cereal for breakfast tomorrow. I've got no milk. I've got no cereal. I've got no bread. I can't make her toast. I've got nothing. And I'm like, yeah, what do I do? What do I do at this point? And I'm like breaking down. I didn't have a great relationship with my parents at that point. They weren't thrilled that I was having a baby with the person I was having a baby with. Me and him weren't particularly talking. He wasn't thrilled about having a baby. And I was like, well, what do I do? I have nobody around me I can turn to. I've already borrowed money from my sister before, and she's like, no, you're financially responsible. I'm not giving you money again. And I'm like, I get why you would say that because, yeah, I'm living on credit cards right now. That is financially irresponsible. Mm-hmm. What do? I need immediate solutions. And I had to ring up the phone and like swallow all of my pride. I'm a very proud person. I don't ask for help, especially not for money. And I had to ring my son's dad and was like, can you please either bring me some cash, because if you bank transfer me, I still won't be able to spend anything because I'm well past the limit. So I need you to either bring me cash or can you go to the shop and buy some food because I'm pregnant with your son and I can't afford to eat.
It must be very tortured for some, like the sensitivity or dignity, like
huge hits of dignity. Yeah. Like I moved out of home when I was 16. I went straight to go live at college. I went to like a boarding college. I've been independent for as long as I can remember. I've stood on my own 2 feet. I had my daughter at only 20 years old and I've done everything by myself. Everything that I've had, I've paid for by myself. I've supported myself. So to go from living, you know, not a rich lifestyle, but a comfortable lifestyle to rock bottom really quickly was hard. And I always said that like growing up, my parents weren't poor, but they certainly weren't rich. Mm-hmm. And I always knew that I just wanted a little bit more. I wanted more from life. And I've always worked hard to make sure that my children have better. So being able to go from, like I say, a comfortable life to absolutely nothing was ridiculously hard. And I spent several months at that rock bottom point where I couldn't afford things. I couldn't afford food. I couldn't afford to pay my bills. My credit score took an absolute dive. I don't know why I was so bothered about that, but I was. I'd always had an immaculate credit score and it took an absolute dive because I wasn't paying bills. I was like defaulting on so many payments and it was just a really, really hard time. And I was like, okay, so I'm having a baby. No one wants to hire me. What do? Start a business. And that's when people were saying, no, it's not a good time to start a business. Definitely. You're about to have a baby. It's not a great time to start a business. And I was like, well,
you have to immerse yourself fully in that, and you don't know the shot of you will definitely be successful. No one can ensure that. Some people definitely gonna say that.
Well, yeah. And I was like, well, what choice do I have? I can't get a job right now because I'm about to have a baby in now a couple of weeks. My baby's due between, early February, mid-February. It's now the middle of January. I'm due to have a baby in a couple of weeks. Even if I do start a job today, by some miracle, someone says, yes, you can have a job, because I've not been at the company long enough, I'm not entitled to maternity pay. Because you have to have been there at least, I think it's like a year or something before you can have any kind of maternity pay. So I'm not going to get that anyway. So my options are start a business or starve. What do you do? That was the driver. And when there is that big stick behind you saying, you have to make this work, you have to find a way to be successful, what other choice do you have?
But for a lot of people, I would say, if I got a little bit desperate and I feel like, in my mind, it's a picture, like I'm a bird. I'm standing at the edge of the cave. I know I'm gonna falling down. I have to enhance my ability or find ability to fly. But the most part is, I don't know how to fly. What's the first step? If I want to start a business, how should I start? Start from what? Can I make some cupcakes and selling it at the street? I don't know.
Well, that is the first thing. You decide what you're going to sell and then you start selling it. Yeah. And you don't have to have all the answers at the start. But you have to start. Like, people ask me all the time, what's the hardest thing you did in business? And I say start. Because I started, and I was good at managing other people's business. You can hand me any business that already has systems, processes, and it, is fully operational, and I can manage that. Like, I can manage it really well. Like, I'm competent at managing something. I can manage a business, but I've never started a business. I've never built something from nothing. And that question was there, like, I don't know how to do it. How am I going to make it work? And I was like, well, let's just try. We don't have any other option now than to try. And I'm going to make mistakes, and then I'm going to learn from those mistakes, and then I'm going to be able to say, well, why didn't that work? Why am I not getting results out of this? What can I do to make sure that I do get results? How can I look at what other people are doing and how they're getting results? How can I borrow their structure rather than copying what they're doing? Can I copy the structure of what they're doing and then add my own, services onto it? Can I add my own flair onto it? Like, what makes a business successful? And that's when I sort of dove into business, because I've always said, like, if you want to earn more, you have to learn more, right?
Oh, and I feel that's an interesting difference. You're not like some college students who are pursuing business administration. They worried nothing. They sit on the classroom very comfortably, scrolling, some TikTok, and at the same time, there's one teacher come and go about marketing, strategy, about digital transformation, operation, everything. But you, at that moment, you need to put yourself into the whole market, whole business, chaos world, and try to figure out your path and your ideas.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
What am I going to do? Which market am I going to serve? Is there a demand for what I'm doing? Because what I didn't want to do is I knew I needed to start a business. Now, it would be so easy to be like, right, I'm going to go into aesthetics. Every woman at the moment seems to be training in aesthetics. I'm going to do lip fillers. I'm going to do face injections. Yeah, okay, but you and 200 other women, there's no demand for this because there's people already doing it. People can't sell lip filler for £50. Like, they're struggling. Like, they're dropping their prices, they're competing. And I was like, well, this isn't a great route to go down. Don't need to go into that industry. Everybody's a dog walker. Like, the community around me doesn't need any more dog walkers. There's 20 of them. This is nailed. So what can I do? So I looked around and I was like, well, what do people actually need help with? Where are my natural skills? What am I naturally interested in? And what do people need that sort of utilises that? And I looked around, and when I speak to loads of business owners, and I thought, well, the best way, if I'm starting a business, I'm going to start to speak to business owners. And I say, where do you struggle in business? And they say, oh, I'm good at this, but marketing. Whether it's restaurant owners, they're great at making food, they're fantastic at creating a menu, they don't know how to bring customers through the door. You speak to hairdressers, they can cut, colour any hairstyle, they can fit extensions, but what they can't do is bring customers through the door or get customers to stay and come back again.
Oh, yeah.
And you speak to pretty much any business, this is what they're saying. They're saying, I struggle with the marketing, or I post on social media, but no one's really seeing my post, no one likes my posts, no one's engaging with it, and I don't get anything back off it, so I don't really bother with it. But I know I need to bother with it because my business is struggling without it. And I was like, this is interesting. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people filling this market. And the people who are filling the market also don't seem to know what they're doing, because there's also like literally courses and content creators teaching the business coaches how to bring clients. And I don't know, like, call me a skeptic, but if you can't bring clients into a business, you probably shouldn't be teaching other people how to bring clients into a business. But that's just my cynical view on it.
So you are doing your first business. At that very frustrating period, your first business is about try to help people about their marketing area? Or that's a later thing?
I looked at it as there are hundreds of thousands of business owners within a 50-mile radius of where I live who need help. And I found out what they need help with. So now I need to learn how to solve this problem. So that was when I threw myself into business, like a business degree, and studied marketing. And then obviously I've specialised and gone down the neuroscience and the neuromarketing route of that. But that was basically where it went. It was like, right, what skills do I need to learn in order to service this market? And then I picked up skills as I went along, and I learned, and I applied what I already knew, applied what I knew from practical experience that I could already advise, and I started charging a small amount for these services. And I was like, I just need to bring some money in. So if I can bring some people in and make some positive changes for them, great. I can learn as I go along, increase my services, increase the price of my services, and increase the results that I get. And that's basically all I did. There was no secret, there was no, secret formula that I haven't done. Is I tried some stuff and some stuff didn't work. So I tried different stuff and some different stuff didn't work. And for every idea I've had, like 9 out of 10 haven't worked. But it's not giving up. It's like actually looking at it coldly and analytically and saying, right, rather than being pissed off that it didn't work, why didn't it work? What's going to make it work? Why, if I've put out an advert and it's not brought any customers in, why has it not brought customers in? Why is it not converting? And let's look at it cynically and coldly, and what do I need to do? Because the market's not the problem. It's always the supplier that's the problem. You're not appeasing to the market. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not broken. You're just not getting through to them. So what do you need to change? And when you take that ownership, when you take that accountability, that is sort of I suppose that's the secret. It's cold accountability, yeah.
But I feel like there is a very interesting mindset. Like, I just imagine if I were stuck in there again. I'm gonna try to figure out something that I can make the quick money, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna be so frustrated by my debt. So I'm gonna think, what kind of skills I have right now, and I want to sell these skills very quickly. Or what kind of product I can make, what kind of network I can go and try to, on the board, just contribute to what I have right now. But you just very calm down at that moment and you think of your destination and you try to figure out what do you need during the way.
Yeah, it was a mixture of the two. So there was I need money quickly because I've got bills to pay. Like, your girl's broke, I need money. What am I going to do? Like, my kids need food, I need money. The bills aren't paying themselves, what am I going to do? So it was a mixture of, well, what skills do I already have? Like, I'm not a complete newbie to marketing. When I was managing the clubs, when I've worked in different companies, I've done parts of marketing. I know the basics of it. I know what works. I know how to write blog posts. I know how to write basic social media posts that get maybe not the best results, but get some results. I wasn't the top leading marketing expert, but I was better than the average person at it. So I was able to go and offer some value. I was able to confidently go up to a business owner and be like, look, okay, so you're struggling with marketing. Could you maybe pay me £300 a month and I'll take care of that for you, or I'll give you this for that. So it was a little bit of what skills do I have? How can I get money now? But also what's the long-term vision for this? Instead of charging £300 a month, how can I charge £9,000 a month for this? And how do I need to move my market from the local takeaway, the local restaurant, the local hairdresser, to a company that's turning over 200 million a year and beyond?
So here's another question. Like, at your early stage about your first company, how do you convince your clients that you have a lot of evidence and proof to show you can handle this pretty well? Because that would be very hard.
So I love this question. So I frame it as like how to become the trusted expert. And there are so many angles that you can take on this to make yourself the go-to expert. And a lot of it's the frame is more important than the picture itself. So what you're saying can be framed differently. So I think if I was to put it into a social media context, because everybody's marketing themselves on social media because it's free and it's a great place to be, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, I'm saying you should. But loads of people say stuff like, here's 3 tips to you. I hate that. Don't do it. Why would you do that? So I'm going to ask you a question. Which one of these do you prefer? Here's 3 tips to get more clients on social media. That's option A. Here's option 2. I did these 3 things and all of my clients got more clients by the end of the month using these 3 strategies. Which one do you prefer? I'm going to tell you the exact same tips and information, but which one?
Second,
definitely.
Yeah, it sounds... I want to earn the money.
You want to earn the money, right? So it's the frame. So I'm telling it and giving it proof behind it. I'm telling you the proof. So you can also, if you are new to an industry, you've never worked with a particular kind of client, and I hadn't. Like, when I went into business consultancy, I worked in strip clubs before. So how do I then tell somebody who is an equine physiotherapist or a riding instructor, I can help you run your business because I manage a strip club? Like, they're going to be like, no, right?
Different.
So what I do is I pick out scenarios from what I've done in that business and how it's going to relate to that business. So I might not say, in the strip club we did this, but I might say, in the past, so your problem is that you can't bring clients into your business or you can't get enough people to engage with your social media post. So I say, in the past, one of the ways that I brought more people into a business was by doing more market research, and we did X, Y, and Z, and this delivered more results. And in fact, this increased our average transactional value and the amount of money coming into the business by this amount by doing these strategies. I haven't mentioned that I'm in a strip club, but I have told you the results that I've got. Even though I don't have any direct experience in your industry, I know that the strategies are going to work because they're basic marketing strategies. They're basic business principles. I know they're transferable. In the same way that if you're a photographer who does food photography and someone says, do you have any experience in beauty? You can say, instead of saying no, you can say, well, I've got loads of experience with lighting, and I've done these professional catalogue shoots, and I've done these professional product shoots. And you take like a common problem that people have that they struggle to solve, and you talk about a time that you've solved that problem, even though you've never directly worked on a beauty model, that you have done product photography.
Yeah.
And you transfer things. Yeah. Tell a story. Tell a story. You can also, so social proof, you can be your own biggest social proof. Yeah. I think as well, like, especially if you solve a problem, you can be your own social proof. So let's go back to the, let's say we've got a fitness instructor. You don't have any clients yet because you're brand new. But you obviously got into fitness for a reason, and you're passionate about it for a reason. So you have a before and after story, right? You have a story to tell about a time where you weren't fit, or a time that you struggled to run 5K, or a time that maybe you had weight problems and you couldn't manage your weight effectively, and a time from where you are now and why people should trust you. Yeah. So you tell your own story. And you start framing it. Instead of, here's 3 tips to lose weight, you say, here's 3 things that I did every day that helped me lose blah, blah, blah weight, or that helped me prepare for a marathon. And you start framing it in that sort of authority and building that context. You can also do the same for your clients. So if you've worked on a project, you can be like, this is how we delivered these results. This is how we solved this problem, and using that. So even just plucking little bits of experience out, if you can tell a story, this is going to resonate so much more and build up that credibility and authority. And also being introduced to someone as an expert. I think if you can come into a room and somebody else introduces you as an expert, that makes all of the difference. So if I want to be introduced as a marketing expert and authority, I go on a podcast and I get introduced as a neuromarketing specialist, which means that whoever's listening to it sees me already as an authority. Maybe it's when I go into a lecture hall, I'm being introduced as, this is Rhiannon-Amber. She's a specialist in assisting startup businesses and helping people with their marketing. They are already looking at me as if they look at you in a different light. If you meet me on the street and I say I work in marketing, it's a completely different place to me being stood on a stage and saying, hi, I'm a neuromarketing specialist and I've been brought here today by the University of blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? Like you're in an authority position from the start. You can also achieve this by, like I say, going on podcasts. You can achieve this by like writing like articles in magazines, appearing on blog posts, stuff like that. Maybe partnering with somebody on social media to do a live together to input your authority and expertise. Just showing up in the right places is more important than the experience that you actually have.
Do you remember your first client at this consulting?
I do.
Yeah, please tell me more.
My first client. So the first client that I ever worked with was in the equine industry, and she was an equine physio, and she was in the US, and she booked an appointment with me online, and I felt crazy that I was charging £70 for an hour. Like, oh my God, I've gone from having like no money. I've never earned more than £15 an hour in my life. And that was when I was doing overtime, to charging someone £70 an hour. And like, I was so excited and I was thrilled. And we sat down, I gave her some advice. She said it was really good. And I was just like, I don't know. I left that video call, that meeting, feeling like on top of the world. Like, I don't know. It was just, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I really, really enjoy. And this is where I want to go with it.
Do you think why she chose you rather than other, people she know in USA or other people on the internet? Why she chose you?
I think because I had sort of nailed that marketing messaging, and I'd really kind of like focused on the results. So rather than saying, this is me, this is what I do, this is my skills, this is my experience, this is the pieces of paper I've got, this is the qualifications I've got. I don't do any of that. Even now when I'm marketing, you will probably not hear me talk about qualifications. I will give you what you want, and I will tell you what you want to hear, and I will tell you the results that you want, which is, from her perspective, she's brand new to the market. She's she's brand new to this market. She's got a successful business in one area. She wants to move to another area and bring in new clients, doesn't know how to do it. And I was like, okay, well, when I was in the strip clubs, I literally helped them open a second branch. That's something that I can do. So how can we replicate what's working here? We take what's working, we find out what's not working in your business, and I condense this into an hour. And I was like, okay, so what's working here? What's not working there? What do you want to replicate? And then we briefly talked about like marketing strategies, where you can reach out, how you can get in front of a target audience. I didn't tell her everything groundbreaking and revolutionary. I just think sometimes in business, you need people to confirm what you already know. It's not rocket science. You already know it. You just need someone to put it in front of you and break it down and be like, okay, you need to start here. And I think sometimes just having someone to talk through it with is really, really helpful. And that's basically all I did for her. She's already built one successful business. Of course you can do that on your own. But the shortcut is just speak to someone else, bounce some ideas with someone else who's going to be like, maybe not, or yes, this is amazing. Let's do this. Let's do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, because people hesitating about themselves, doubting themselves a lot sometimes.
Yeah, I think so.
So at that early stage, when you just go into this purely consultant at marketing area, did you have any like self-doubt about, am I that good enough at it? Is there any clients gonna say, I have a little different opinions about that? Or when you give them suggestions and 1 month later they came to you again like, it doesn't work like that. Do you face that kind of situations?
No. So like, I think what you're referring to is like imposter syndrome, if you're familiar with the term.
Yeah.
Yeah? I don't have this. I have...
you don't have that?
No. So not in business, no. And I always say it's right. Like, if you feel like an imposter, probably are. Like, it's not come from nowhere, this thought. So why do you feel like this? Why do you feel like you're not competent enough? And what do you need to do to be more competent? Because it's probably right. However, I know I'm good at my job. I know that I am good at growing and expanding businesses. That's why I was hired, to grow and expand a business. Like, I know I'm good at that. And it's in everyday life that I actually have imposter syndrome. So I feel like I'm not a very good friend because I don't have very much time for them. Or I don't pick up the phone as much as I should do. I don't text them. I don't stay in touch with them. I don't ask my friends hey, are you okay enough? And that's when I feel like an imposter. I feel like an imposter as a parent sometimes, because there are two human beings who are dependent on me. And I don't feel like I have all of my shit together to be like looking after two children, right? So I feel like an imposter in like my personal life. In my professional life, I know that I'm good at what I do. That's why I'm doing it. And I'm aware of knowledge gaps and stuff, but what I'm not trying to do is solve problems that I don't know the answers to. I'm trying to solve problems that I already know the answers to. Sure, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, you think that what you're doing is not worth it? Yeah, I have days where I don't feel 100% confident in myself. But I always say, like, can you just be 50%? Can you be 50% confident in what you're doing? And can you push it just over that 50% mark? Can you be 51% confident in what you're doing? Can you be 51% confident that your idea is going to work? Because that's really all you need, is to be just over the halfway mark. And then you're doing okay. But the way that I see it is, you don't have to know all the answers to everything. If I'm working with a business and they want to know how to rank at the top of Google, I can openly say, I am not an SEO expert, but I know somebody who is, and we can have a chat with them and we can get some SEO strategies for the business. I can say, I'm particularly good at writing social media posts, or I'm very, very good at networking. I'm very good at sales, like conversations. So if you want to learn how to close a call on the phone or get your sales team to be more efficient, I know I can solve that problem. I don't feel unconfident about it. I don't feel like an imposter about it, because I know that I can confidently train someone to have a sales conversation where they can close at over 80% rate. Like, I know I can do that. And like I say, if you just know a little bit more about the person than the person you're teaching, that's all you have to be. You don't have to be the top expert. You just have to know a little bit more than somebody else. Like you were saying that you wanted to learn to ride a horse, right? I'm not an Olympic rider. I've never ridden at the Olympics. So would you rather have a lesson with me and I'm going to teach you how to get on the horse, I'm going to teach you how to hold the reins, where to put your legs, and I'm going to teach you how to make the horse move forward and stop? Or do you want a lesson with a Grand Prix dressage rider who's competed at the Olympics, who's going to teach you how to make the horse go sideways, and they're going to teach you how to make the horse prance on the spot? Which one of those feels more relatable to you right now?
Definitely you.
But I'm not an Olympic dressage rider.
Yeah, but
right?
I feel like safe when you teach me, and I feel like I'm truly communicating with you. And
because I'm speaking to you at your level, I'm going to teach you how to make the horse go and stop. That's all you need to know for now. But however, who's the better riding instructor? It's probably going to be the Grand Prix dressage rider. They've got way more experience than me. They've ridden at a much higher level than me. But you don't need that. You need someone who's just a little bit in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel more relatable in that position. And that's exactly how the people who I'm working felt like when I was right at the start. Obviously now I work with more like bigger businesses, more advanced businesses. But those businesses right at the start, they don't want me to talk about crazy marketing terms and use crazy business terminology. They just want someone to be like, let's try this. And we're going to try this and we're going to implement this strategy. And then they feel totally confident in it. So am I confident that I can speak to someone who's just a few steps behind me? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So I think at this moment, some of our audience gonna be a little bit, don't have clueless about why we keep dragging the example of horsemanship, because you have 5 companies.
Yes.
Yes, and the first one is about this marketing consulting
for the equine industry.
Yes.
So I specifically work with the equine industry. So if you own a business that has something to do with horses, I will work with you. So whether that's an equine clothing brand, whether you run a riding school, whether you run a boarding stables where people keep their horses, whether you go out and you do physiotherapy for horses, or you're a riding instructor and you teach people how to ride, any kind of business in this sector is the kind of target audience I work with.
Yeah.
I do work with businesses outside of that sector, but my marketing is predominantly focused on this sector.
And a lot of people are still very unfamiliar with this area. Could you please tell us the biggest challenge when you're dealing with their problems?
With their problems, the equine industry, technology. They don't. It's just not a thing that they use or accept. I know some equestrian businesses who are still using paper.
Using paper to write down some customers.
Yeah, like you have an iPad on your knee right now. Like, so they will go out to a client, saddle fitters, like people who fit saddles to horses, make sure they fit properly, they're not causing any, muscle stiffness and things like that. Make sure it fits properly and the horse can move freely underneath the saddle. They will go out to horses and they will take a shape of the horse with it's like a flexible stick. And they take a shape of the horse and they'll draw it on paper, and then they'll come back in 6 weeks and use the same piece of paper and draw it again, and they will write down all of their notes in handwriting that you can barely read, and then they will give it to the horse owner and be like, there you go. And they're like, what? Yeah, or they will write notes up about the horse's clinical history. So like the chiropractor, the equine physio will write down on paper, and then they will give you a treatment report that says, what they've done. Again, you can't read the writing, or you're going to lose it, or it gets wet, or you just don't understand what's written on it.
Yes.
And the booking systems, it's still in a paper diary. The person who comes and looks after my horse's feet, he carries around a big battered diary. We're obviously only in March of 2025 and his diary is just a mess already. And I'm like, this is why you're always late. This is why you're never on time.
But they're just old men?
No.
Or
no.
Young people are still working there and in this work style?
It's chaos. It's chaos. There are people in their 20s still using paper booking systems, paper diaries, paper treatment reports. And when you say, let's go on to technology. They say, no, I'm not a technology person. I'm not good at technology. That's not for me. I'm not very good with computers. Or I don't want a business like that. I just want to work with horses. I don't want to be all technical. And I'm like, I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking you to download an app and use it. You don't have to be good at technology. Just make your life easier, please. And then increase your client satisfaction, because everything's more streamlined and transparent and runs efficiently, and you're not ringing people and saying, oh, I'm going to be 2 hours late today because I've double booked, because you can't do that if you have an actual like CRM system in place that stops you from doing it. And it's a nightmare. But that is definitely by far the biggest problem that I have with the equine industry, is it's still in like the 1970s.
And making people change is very, very difficult.
Incredibly difficult. Change has to happen on your own terms. When you see the benefits, and when your life has become so difficult, you're at a point where you're like, I can't go on like this. That is when people make a change. When you go like, I have hit a point where I physically cannot do this anymore, then you will make a change. But someone just saying, oh, you should do this, or this is a really cool solution, you're still going to be like, nah, I don't need it. I don't need it.
That's not my thing.
And this is sort of, it's the same, it brings it back to marketing, but this is why marketing, you can't just say, this is what I'm selling, buy it.
It's good content.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. This doesn't work. We have to take people and make them aware that they have a problem. Then we have to make sure that they're aware that there's a solution to the problem. They're not going to buy it yet, but they know that they have a problem and they know that there's a solution. Then we have to move them to the point where they know they need to solve the problem and make it urgent that they solve the problem, highlight how much money it's costing them, the inefficiency of not solving the problem, and really sort of lay on those points. Then we offer to buy it. We don't just say, here's what I'm selling, buy it now. Because only a very small percentage of people are actually ready to buy it now. Because the majority of people either don't know they have a problem, or don't see that they have a problem, don't see how much money it's costing them. And we have to move them through that process really, really slowly.
So how did you make them to change to this digital transformation, let's say?
It's still an uphill battle that I'm fighting. So a lot of the companies that I work with are apps for the equine industry. And there are loads of them appearing up who are solving different problems within the industry. Whether it is, so like the main one I spoke about was like the equine professionals just using paper. So there was an app called Equigate. I helped them launch in, I think it was April 23, I think. Yeah, and I helped them, 2 years ago, I helped them launch that app. They're now the leading brand in that sector. But they are an online, so they have an app and you can make bookings through it, get treatment reports through it, they can send invoices. Pretty standard system, but unheard of in that industry. Obviously now there's loads of competitors jumping up, loads of people copying them, but they kind of have paved the way. They are the industry favourite. But getting people to download it, getting people to trust it is so difficult. And we had to go really far down as to why people wouldn't do it. And it usually had something to do with people saying like, oh, I'm not very good with technology. So then we started doing more demos, showing people, look, your toddler can do this. Like, this was built by someone who's not a tech genius, and changing the marketing angles and things like that, and finding out what the main objectives were and handling those objectives. So it was a really, really interesting journey. But it's still an uphill battle that we are fighting.
And your third business is about some design for the horse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you please tell us more?
I suppose it's hard to describe, like if you don't have horses, but you've maybe seen horses in the field
wearing put a picture.
Wearing coats. Like you have seen horses wearing coats in the field.
It's very adorable.
Yeah, it's quite cute. So professionally, they're called rugs. Not like the rug you'd put on the floor, but a horse coat is called a rug. And I bought my daughter a coat, like a 3-in-1 coat, you know, the ones that have a fleece and then you do a little zip up and you attach a waterproof lining.
Yeah.
You've now got a warm coat, or you can take the lining out and just have a thin coat, and you've got 3 different things in one. You can either wear the fleece, the waterproof layer, or you can wear it both together. And I was like, what if someone did that for horses? And I looked into it and I researched this heavily, and I was like, okay, so it has been done, but not in the way that I want to do it. Like people have done it with clips, the bottom layer slides all over the place, it falls out, the mud gets to it. It's an idea, but it's not great. My idea was to put a zip the entire way around the edge. And it hadn't been done before. And it's still, well, until me, it's still not been done before. And I think I learned really quickly into the process as to why it hadn't been done before, because you have to manufacture a zip that is that long. So like the zips that I'm ordering are like 12 foot long and beyond. So I have to get like specific zips manufactured. And I started to see really quickly what other people hadn't done it. However, there is a huge demand for it. I was like, I see why people haven't done it because it's hard to do. But if you do it, people do want it. So my idea is it's a velvet layer that the horse can wear inside the stable that is warm and cozy. And it's not waterproof, but it's warm, it's padded, it's pretty. And then there is a waterproof layer, which has no filling whatsoever. It's just a waterproof layer. And it fastens together. So you can either have a really, really warm coat for winter, a really light coat for summer when it's maybe just raining in summer, or they can wear it inside, they can wear it at the stables. Like, it looks really pretty. They can wear it out when they're out competing.
It's very flexible and convenient for the host.
Yeah, and you can also zip the neck off. So horses sometimes have like little neck covers on their coats, and on mine you can just zip that on and off, because I identified problems with traditional neck covers, which was like the horse puts their head down, and if that's the horse's head and that's the horse's back, the rein would get inside here. Because they were clipped on at like 3 points, so the rein would go inside, whereas with mine it's zipped all the way across. The rein can't get inside.
I wanna, there's a question. How much time you took from the first moment that you have your daughter's coat that was, oh, that's interesting, to, okay, now here is my new horse-related business? How long it's going to take?
I was so naive. So, like, everybody says that I'm too optimistic. I wouldn't say that I'm the most optimistic, positive-minded person in the world, but everyone's like, when it comes to business, you are way too optimistic. Like, I thought that I could just have an idea, draw up a design, send it to a manufacturer, and they would send me back a perfect sample, and then I would say, yes, I want 100 of these, and that they would send me them, and I would be able to sell them, and this whole process would maybe take 12 weeks start to finish. Well, wasn't I just wrong? And it's, again, like, I've done service-based selling before. Never made a product that's never been done before.
Product.
Yeah, so obviously I had a lot to learn about. I had no idea what the material that they make coats and things out of. Apparently it's a material called Gore-Tex, there's a material called Ripstop, there's polyester linings, there's things like denier, which is how tightly something's woven. Like, I had no idea about this before. And these are all things that I had to learn, and I was like, oh, like, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought. Because even though I sent the design and I showed exactly what I wanted, and I'd made like a prototype on a toy horse, and like my business partner who's good at sewing had like shown exactly what we wanted, and we sent this to the manufacturer, we still got back samples that were just totally unusable, totally unsellable, not what we asked for at all.
Oh, that's a little bit frustrating.
Nightmare. And then like the samples we got back, like I can literally send you some pictures of like the first sample that we got. I put it on my pony. I asked for a very specific size. The size was just not correct. It was huge, but the dimensions were wrong. So I couldn't have put it on the next size up horse because it was like too long this way, but not deep enough this way, or it was too deep this way, but not long enough that way.
So what's the problem of that? They didn't get your request?
It was just chaos. Basically, because this product's never been done in this way before, we couldn't follow traditional sizing. So obviously, like a horse coat is it's a pretty universal shape. It's a pretty universal size. There's nothing special about it when you do it the traditional way. But when you have something that layers together, obviously when you have both layers together, it's now going to be tighter because there's more padding. So it's not going to fit the same. Traditional horse coats also have like darts in the shoulder, like a pleat that allows the horse to move more. But when you have a zip running along the bottom, you can't have that pleatage because it's fixed at the bottom, so you can't spread it out. So we found so many problems along the design process, and then we got the first prototype that we were actually kind of happy with, and I put it on my horse, and she destroyed it in like the first 20 minutes of wearing it. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. She
feel uncomfortable, right? Because if it's too tight and not suitable.
Oh no, she wasn't uncomfortable. She took it off. And she broke it. Well, she broke it and then she took it off. So I was like, well, that's no good. That's not going to work. So it was then back to the drawing board to change the design, to then order another sample that would come that's not to the new design, to then go back with the design process and be like, no, this is what we want. and bring it back. There was also a language barrier because we were manufacturing overseas, and Pakistan with someone who speaks very broken English. My like Arabic and Pashtan is not very, very great. So we're there like broken language barriers. I'm there getting friends to translate between stuff, but they don't know anything about horses. And the whole thing was just chaos, like chaos, utter chaos. But finally, we got the right one. We got the right sample. It worked.
Finally, I can breathe.
Like it worked. And at this point, we now have to obviously put it through product testing. So this is now 6 months into the idea.
Oh.
So I finally got it right. It's September. I'm so happy with this design. Like, I'm happy. And I said, can I have 100 of these before Black Friday? And he said yes. He was like, that's not a problem. I can manufacture 100 of these. Now we have the design right. That's fine. That's not a problem. I can get you 100 of these in time for Black Friday. And that stock, as of today, where we're towards the end of March in 2025, that stock is still not in the country.
Oh
Chaos.
my God. Okay, one quick question. Why you choose them as your supplier?
So we are in talks with other suppliers, but then we have the risk of the more suppliers you speak to, the more we're giving the product out.
Oh, yeah.
And even though we're signing contracts, we have like NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, even though we're doing this, like we're at a very critical point in the business. We are the only people making horse coats in this exact fashion. Now, I do want more manufacturers, but the more manufacturers I have, if a heavy-hitting business, like one of the top players in this industry, finds my idea, or I end up going to their manufacturer, they're going to get my idea. They're going to bring it to market because I've already done the hard work. I've already gone through the product testing. I've already gone through the sampling. I've already gone through the design problems. I've already solved these problems. So now if someone grabs my idea, they can literally just run with it. So the race is on at the moment to bring it to market without disclosing it to too many people. We are obviously in talks with other suppliers, but it's a really, really, really critical point for the business. We're hoping that we will be able to actually have product to sell within the next 6 weeks. So this is very, very exciting. But we've built up a demand for it. We've been able to market the idea. There is a very, very clear demand for it. Like we have customers waiting to buy it. We have people on waiting lists. We have people who've pre-ordered the product. And that was like the kind of way that I did it, is because even though I had some money to invest, obviously I've built up through my other companies, I always say that the best idea, if you're going to create something new or you're going to go for a new product, you want to sell it before you actually have it made. And I know that sounds insane, but there is no point you manufacturing 1,000 units of something, 10,000 units of something.
And you're going to stock them.
You're going to stock it. You're going to turn. So let's say that you have £20,000 to invest into something and you're going to make it. And that would be a relatively small investment for a new product. But let's say you're going to invest £20,000 in something. Stop. I want you to invest a fraction of that money and I want you to sell it first and be like, this is the product. This is the problem that it solves. This is why it's good. Would you be interested in buying it? If so, get on a waiting list to buy it. Give me your money now, pre-order it. And when it's ready, we'll send it out to you. And if it doesn't come to market, we'll just give you your money back. Because then you are guaranteed to know that you've got demand for it. If you can't sell it at the pre-order phase, you're probably not going to be able to sell it when you've bought it. So why would you want thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds in stock that nobody wants? Start small, fail small every time.
Oh, that's so good. That's very suitable for the dynamic and the agile capability. And definitely your like cash flow, everything gonna be more healthy. And that's important, especially when you are SMEs. That's super good. I have a question like, if you can help us to summarize like 1 or 2 or 3 main takeaway from your first physical product business for this horse coat. What's that?
The 3 takeaways. Start small, fail small. So, like I said, don't order thousands of units if you don't know it's going to sell.
Yeah.
Like, you want to test that market first.
First.
Be realistic with timescales. Manufacturers lie, as I have learned massively. Always have more than one manufacturer. Like, have at least 2 or 3 manufacturers, because then also you can say to the manufacturer, like, if they can't meet a deadline, well, it's okay because this person can. So it gives you not have all your eggs in one basket. Whereas I had all my eggs in one basket because I didn't have a huge amount of capital to invest into designing and developing this product. So I kind of relied on one person to do everything. Don't do that. If I could go back and tell myself at the start of this journey, I would be like, speak to several manufacturers because you're going to solve problems faster. Because I spoke to one person who kept getting things wrong and didn't understand. If I'd been speaking to 3 people at once, the other person could have solved that problem within weeks. We could have been at market way faster than we are now. So always have more ideas. And finally, like, it's a toss-up, I don't know, like, there's almost 4 things where I would say, like, outsource and learn from different people. Like I say, I had no idea what denier meant. I had no idea that there was degrees of waterproofness, from slightly waterproof to very waterproof, 100% waterproof. What the hell? Like, it's either waterproof or it's not, right? No, apparently it's not. So don't be afraid to go speak to other people in the industry who know more about it than you. And I think, finally, just because something's not gone right, don't give up on it. Like, if you know you've got something that has genuine proof because you've tested the market, because you're sensible, if you know there's a demand for it, just because you've been sent the wrong size or the wrong sample, you can still work through it. Like, don't give up on it. It's the perseverance that's going to pay off in the end.
Okay, I think maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years later, we can do this interview again, sitting here, talk about that. And at that time, maybe we're going to reach her. So we're going to stay in a more fancy studio, and then a little horse, just wearing that coat and go back from us. And now I think it's time to go back to your first career journey about the manager of the strip club. Because people definitely would be very interested in that. And it's not about superficial. I don't think it's about superficial thinking. It's about, okay, I have a stereotype. I firstly admit, maybe it's totally wrong, that, working in the strip club as a manager would be harder than, you try to manage some, let's say, normal accountants.
I don't know. I have managed in corporate environments, and I've managed teams in corporate environments, and I've managed girls in strip clubs. And I can tell you, there is more drama in an office than there is in a strip club. Like, with 110% confidence, there is more bitching and more drama and more fallings out in an office and more politics in an office than there is in a strip club. Because a strip club has some very, very clear, very, very strict boundaries. So in offices, you always have, like, the affair. There's the 2 people going for a cigarette break. Oh, they're seeing each other. There's so much going on in an office.
And still you're sounder on me, like, say something like, she's okay. She's just new to here. She's not familiar with that. I handle that. Can you see? Right.
There's so much going on. Whereas in a strip club, all the girls are there to make money, and they don't really give much of a crap outside of that. The biggest politics in a strip club is she spoke to my customer, and that's it. Like, I was talking to that customer, he was going to go off with me, I went to the toilet, I came back, and she's already spoken to him. And, like, the reality is, well,
how to solve that?
Well, you can't. Like, get over it. Go talk to someone else. And the veterans of the industry, the people who've been in the game the longest, they can move away from that. They're like, okay, so my customer's gone off with somebody else. Okay, on to the next target. It's eyes on the prize. Like, they are focused. They're in the zone. And a lot of them just, like I say, they're there to make money. They know what they're doing. And kicking off and causing drama takes away time that they are selling. These are women who have to pay to go to work. Like, to actually go into a strip club and work in a strip club, you're self-employed, so you don't get paid unless you sell dancers. You don't get a set hourly rate. You turn up. If you make no dances, if no one buys from you, that's it. You're going home empty-handed. But you're not going home empty-handed. You're actually going down £25 because in order for you to work a shift, you have to pay £25 floor fee to the club in order for you to be able to work that shift. And one dance is only worth, say, £7 to you.
Oh, I don't know the rule. Oh,
yeah. So it's a tough game. You don't have time to start drama. Like, these are girls who are there to work and they're there to earn money. And like the top girls, the top earners, they're not involved in drama. They're not involved in politics, but they are going home with most people's monthly wage in a night. Like, these girls are focused. And like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, these are the best saleswomen on earth.
Yes, because I think it's so competitive. Like in one place, there are several girls. Maybe they're more gorgeous than me. Maybe they're more chatty than me. How can I make my money? How could it be? I would be very doubted about myself, and I would just think the first thing is about trying to find your clients would be very important. And that's also no matter what kind of products or service you sell. You need that capability.
These girls can talk to someone. Like, obviously, as men come into the club, they will sit down and they will talk to them. And most of the top earners, so I sort of like, it's not an official paper, it's not an official report, it's not an official study by any means. Yeah. But I sort of like looked, what are the commonalities between like the successful girls who are taking home the big money and the girls who are going home empty-handed or owing us money? And it's interesting. So the girls who are making the top money, they will go and say hello to everybody. And they can assess very, very quickly, within minutes, whether that person's going to buy from them or whether they're not. And they can work that out so easily. And I get it because I myself have been a dancer and I've been in that position. And I know if someone's going to buy from me, and I know if they're not interested at all. I know if they're just wasting my time. And they will spend maybe no more than 5 minutes talking to someone before they politely make their excuse to move away. They'll go to the toilet, they say they're going out for a cigarette break, they'll say that they just need to go chat to their friend, and they'll move away. But what else inspires me about these environments is the top earners you say it's a competitive environment, which it is, but it's also one of the most women-supporting women environments that I've ever been in. And I know that's really strange because a lot of people who are like, women's rights, it's objectifying women. Like, I have never seen women who love each other more than those girls. Like, a lot of them are sticking. I mean, yeah, there are problems. I'm not going to say that every strip club doesn't have its dramas. But for the most part, these are women who absolutely, they adore each other. They've been working together for several years. Like, they will bring each other in on dances. So if they're speaking to someone and they know that he is interested in curvy blonde women, she will go find her curvy blonde friend and be like, well, we can do a double act together. So she's not selling herself out of money, but she's giving him what he wants. And they will, like I say, like, these are women who can sell anything. Like, they can sell you something that you can get for free.
Maybe I think there are gonna be some experience or some observations about how to win people over, how to networking, because in business area people always say, oh, networking is important. And for a lot of occasions, a lot of events, I think a lot of people don't know how to literally networking, how to win others over. People always standing here like, oh, I graduated of what, I'm working in what, and how are you? It's like, oh my God.
So robotic. Yeah. Whereas these are women who will literally, they will walk in the room, they'll come sit down, and they will just chat to you as if they've known you their entire life. Like, they will literally just sit down and spark up a conversation somewhere in the middle of a conversation, if that even makes sense. Like, there's no, hi, how are you? How's your night been? Yeah, like the most successful girls will just come down and they will talk to you as if they've known you for years, which puts them straight onto the back foot, creates that sense of familiarity, creates a sense of trust. And then within minutes, they are getting this person to hand over like £280 for a dance. And it's insane how quickly they can go from sitting down to being stood at the bar and cashing in this person's money. Like, it's phenomenal. Like I say, like, these are the best salespeople on earth.
Can you remember some like examples of how to do that, like in the middle of the conversation, but it looks like we have known each other for years and the trust built very quickly? Do you have any examples?
So very touchy. So they break that initial boundary because when you go meet someone at networking, you stand apart like we are now, and we're not touching each other, and it's very professional.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas a stripper will come sit down and she will sit right here, and she'll maybe put her arms around you, and she will chat to you straight away and create that sense of familiarity, almost as if she's your girlfriend in a way. And she's straight away broken that awkward barrier. We're not asking for a handshake. She's just going straight in and being like, "Hi, sweet. What have you been up to? Have I seen you in here before?" And it's literally, it's not a, "Hi, what's your name? My name's..." Yeah, it's none of that awkwardness. She just comes straight in, puts her arm around you, and she talks to you as if she's already been speaking to you.
Oh, now I get another thing about marketing, actually. That's like if I have the product new for you, I shouldn't tell you, "Here we go, it's an iPad, it's pretty good." Sometimes they have it. I should make you just, okay, try it.
Why
right?
can't Apple do it? So in the Apple store, if they want you to buy a phone, they pass it to you. Yeah. And they don't touch the phone. Like Apple actually have a policy that their salespeople give you the phone and they don't touch it. And they say, press this button, try this button, have you tried the camera? And it's the whole let them try and they will buy experience. And ownership is a massive thing in sales. And obviously, like, we can't say ownership when we're talking about women because that has some serious problems. But when somebody makes you feel like they're already your girlfriend by sitting on your lap and putting your arm around you, that kicks a psychological concept. And it moves past a barrier of like normal human interaction. If she comes and sits on your knee as if she's your girlfriend, it's a totally different thing. Obviously, that doesn't work for everybody. There are a lot of people who are like, "What are you doing? Get the hell off me." But for a lot of, like, it works on a particular type of people. And if she does say, like, if they do say that, they'll normally move and they will read the boundaries. And they're very, very good at reading very quickly what people want. And it's the most adaptive dancers who are making the top money, who can sort of read someone really, really quickly, gauge their boundaries, read body language. Like, I'm not saying they're like full-on psychotherapists, but if someone has very close body language and they're sat on the chair like this, don't sit on their knee.
Or like this. Like,
if we've got a man who's like this, you can go sit on his knee. Like, it's very basic things that they're thinking of. Or, you can come sit on him. He's got his arm out like this and you go sit here. He now feels like he's giving you a cuddle. Things like this. And this is how they sort of do it really quickly. And like I say, it's the ability to move on. If she knows somebody's not interested, she politely makes her excuses and she moves on to the next customer. And what I always said to new dancers is, because we would have like such a high turnover of girls, often students who want to earn some more money, who would come into the club and they would be disheartened because they started their first shift, they're already feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And I was like, you're probably not going to make massive money on your first night because your whole body language is nervous. Whereas if you do this for a couple of weeks, you'll be so comfortable in this environment. Things like this, but also you are going to hear, in one night, even the most experienced dancers are going to hear no more times than they hear yes.
That's the best seller in the world. Definitely.
But take your no and then move on.
Yeah, you need to move on.
Yeah, just move on to it. And sometimes we can turn a no into a yes. We can get somebody to part with their money afterwards, depending on their reasons for saying no. Generally, the confident people who can be themselves, who are going to make it work. And I mean, me as a dancer, like, I've always been a bigger build person. It's not like stereotypically about looks. It's not about who's the prettiest girl in the room, who's got the highest heels, who's got the best makeup on, who's the fittest and most in shape and has the best gym body. It's about the person who is able to go up, have a conversation, and confidently say, like, right, let's go for a dance and let's have a good time.
God, wow. I need to give it a try. I mean, that's fabulous. And I always think for any entrepreneurs, being resistance, sometimes, no matter how many times you experience, it's still a little bit easily to get it personal. Like, oh, did I do something wrong? Or, oh, fine, it's okay, it happens. People just refuse you. People just punch your face 1,000 times in your mind, definitely. but still have a little bit weird feeling. But I think that would be a great training season for entrepreneurs. For that
these
mindset.
girls are so used to hearing no, and like your first no as a dancer is obviously really personal because you're like, is it because is it because I'm too big? Is it because I'm too small? Is it because I don't have big enough boobs? Is it because I don't have big enough bum? Is it because my hair's not right? Is it because of my race, my ethnicity? Is it because I'm Latvian? Is it because I'm this? And you're putting yourself down. Whereas like the veterans, once you've heard no that many times, you're so habitualized to it, you just don't care anymore. And it gives you like this unshakable confidence that someone says no and you're like, okay, cool. What is your type? I know most of the girls in this club, like, who is your type? I'll introduce you to them. Right, and then we get this amazing sort of networking, and when you can sort of bring the other girls in on stuff like that, it works very well. And like these girls are just amazing at social interaction because they are literally in an environment where they are making men pay for something that they can get for free, but with less. Like most men can find somebody to have, to date and to have more with. In a strip club, you can't even touch her. You're paying £280 to sit on your hands and you can't touch her. How is that not the best salesperson on earth? Like, you can't do anything with her. You can't touch her. All you can do is look at her. Yeah. So how is that not the best salesperson on earth? They can manage to make you part with that amount of money to look at something. That's insane. I love it.
But I think right now the online website like OnlyFans something.
I mean, they're fantastic at it too.
Yeah.
Because Google Images is free. Like there are websites where you can find a lot more than what a lot of girls are posting on OnlyFans. I mean, there are people out there who post feet pictures.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Google Images is free for anything like this. But there are girls out there who are getting men to part with money for these kinds of things because they've done the marketing. And I genuinely feel like it's the sex workers and the girls who are getting men to part with this kind of money. They are the best salespeople. And I know loads of people sort of take the piss out of them and say like, oh, well, she's on OnlyFans and like look down on her. She makes more sales than you do. She's doing it better. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if I had to open a telesales company today, I would fill my call centre with strippers.
Since you're a little girl, you always have like some instinct about business. You have some eager for business ideas, right?
Right from being young. So my dad makes Pickle Relish. I should have brought you some. I didn't, but maybe next time. So he made like this Pickle Relish, which is like this just green tomato based. It's really spicy, mustardy, really good. And everybody who's tried it loves it, says it's one of the best things they've ever tasted. They want it on a cheese toastie, they want it in their sandwiches. They say it's amazing. So, and he would just give out jars of it, and I was like, this is great. Like, we're building up a demand, and I was only like 6 or 7 years old. And then someone would say, oh my gosh, what goes into this? And he was like, I'll write down the recipe. And he would literally like write down what he puts into it on a piece of paper and hand it over to them while he was like sat in a bar, sat in the pub or whatever. And I was just like,
what are you doing?
Literally. I was like, sell this. And he was like, oh no, because I'd have to open up a kitchen, I'd have to do all the allergen ingredients. And I was like, that'll take half a day. Allergen ingredients is easy. Like, like, let's do this. And he was like, no, because I'd need a professional kitchen. I was like, not in the early stages. You wouldn't, like, literally being like 6 or 7 years old. I was like, not in the early stages. You could do it as a homemade product for now. And then when we've got more money, then we can get a professional kitchen. He was like, I didn't know. It seems like too much work. And I was like,
his work is very busy as his full-time job.
No, he wasn't particularly busy. He had a job and he would work from like 3 a.m. till 7 a.m, and the rest of his day was empty.
Oh, so definitely can make this.
You've got an opportunity, you've got a window, make it work. And I remember telling him off. And the sort of the joke is now that he's officially given me the recipe. And he's like, you can make it into a business if you want. And I was like, well, I mean, I could do, but I'm busy. Like, I already have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I do think about it, and it's probably something that I am going to do later on in life, is make this and make it into a business and see where it can go. But for now, like I say, I'm busy with this kind of stuff. And that was your opportunity. You missed it. Like, I'm not doing it for you.
And you had the chance to be a very rich kid.
Yeah. And I think that was like,
I was daughter of the big chili South.
Like Levi Roots 2.0, And I was literally saying to him, and I was like, well, Levi Roots did it and stuff like this. And he was like, yeah, I might do. And then he just never did. And I was like, I will never let that be my problem. Like, I will never find excuses to not start something. And like I said, the hardest thing you will do in business is start, because you have all of the doubts. Can I make it work? Am I going to be able to? I don't know what I'm doing. And it's all of this procrastination that stops you. Like, just do the thing. You don't need all of the answers figured out. Like, my dad was like, oh, I don't have a professional kitchen. I'm not sure how to do the allergen ingredients. Okay, well, let's just start by making a batch, and you're going to write down everything you've put in it. And now you have allergen ingredients. Ta-da! Like, it's as simple as you could literally, I don't know, like, you can use the internet to find out how many calories are in, you know, like 3 kg of tomatoes.
Yes.
So I was like, so then you have the nutritional information. I was like, and I was only like 7 years old. This is like 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
12 years ago. These are, and I was like, the internet has the answers. You don't need them. We can work this out. Like, let's just do something. So I was like, I'm never going to let excuses put me off of doing something and starting something. I will just start and figure it out later, because done is better than perfect.
Do you think what kind of factors made you such a determined person about that?
I don't know. I think it's a strange question. Is when I think about the average life, and I speak to people from school who I don't speak to as much as I should. Like I say, I have like huge imposter syndrome about not being a great friend. When I speak to them, they seem so content in like what they have. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with the life I'm going to describe. It's just not for me. I am not the kind of person who wants to work Monday to Friday in a job that I don't love, but it pays an okay salary, surrounded by people who are okay, but if I quit my job today, they probably wouldn't speak to me again. In an environment that I'm not obsessed with, to bring home like 30,000, 40,000 pounds a year, to go on holiday once, maybe twice a year, to buy a house on the new build estate, and to buy a car that's a comfortable family car. I don't want that.
People say it's stable.
It's stable, but that's not for me. Like, I don't know, I've always just felt like I want more from life. I don't want £45,000. I want more money. And people say, oh, it's not always about money. Like, money's not everything. No, money isn't everything. But if you want your children to be able to live mortgage-free in the future and not have to go through the hardship that you went through, money is everything. If you want to be able to travel and see the world and go on experiences and be able to take your family along,
money is
like,
essential.
like I want to go explore like Southeast Asia. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to I want to travel all over the world. And I can't do that for free. Like, I need money to do that. I love the freedom to say so I remember at the start I was saying I charge £70 an hour, and I thought that was amazing. Yeah. I now charge £300 an hour. And if I want to put my prices up, I go on my website and I delete the 300 part and I type 350, and I now charge £350 per hour. What more freedom could you want? I'm not going to say that owning a business, starting a business isn't one of the hardest things you're going to do, because it is. And the grit and the determination on the bad days, you're going to need to get you through. But once you do it and you make it work, there is nothing else like it. The freedom that you are going to get is so liberating. And I would say that where I am in my mental health and where I am in the happiness level in my life and how satisfied and how the gratitude I have for my life is massively greater than when I was working for utility companies. I used to work in a debt advice charity. I've worked in so many different businesses for different people.
What's your further vision, goal? About what's your best day, 20 years later?
So I would say the long-term vision is to outsource the companies and manage from afar. I know that I definitely want to sell Zippet Rug. That's the horse company, the horse coat company. That business was built to be sold. It is starting from the very beginning, the systems, the processes, the sales mechanisms, the marketing strategies were outlined and still are outlined in rigorous SOP manuals of exactly how that business runs. And it was built with a foundation that means that I can, once it gets to a point where I've got stock in that we can sell and things, and we've got the market demand, it's going to be sold within 5 to 6 years. And that was always the case. So that one we'll get rid of. The other companies I will outsource. The only business that I will actively work in will be consultancy, because I literally can't step away from it. Not because I can't. I can be remote. I can employ the people. I can employ the consultants. But I actually really, really enjoy it. Like, there is something about being in a room and chatting to people and lecturing. I love doing lectures. I love doing like guest talks, and I love like one-on-one consultancy sessions where I'm like, look, you're not as trapped as you think you are. Let's work through the mindset stuff. Let's put some strategy in. Like, let's look at it from a different side. Like, I will never move away from that. And I plan to keep doing that right up until retirement, but just probably at less capacity than I am now. That's providing that I haven't started, like another 10 companies by dinner time this evening.
Oh my God. I feel so enlightened, and I feel...
Yeah, I like it. The community interest company, I hope that goes on. Again, that will be remotely managed. I always want to be a part of that. So the community interest company, I've not really spoken a lot about.
Yeah.
But that is obviously about teaching women how to weld and teaching women that are skills that are quote unquote manly. So we have a welding firm, and we manufacture most of the costume frames for Leeds West Indian Carnival, Notting Hill Carnival, and we're now expanding into like European markets, and we have a lot of customers in the US as well. It has grown quite rapidly over the last 18 months, and we are totally overwhelmed, positively overwhelmed with the support that we have. But one of the questions that kept coming up was women saying like, I'm a costume designer and I create, I design these costume frames, but I have no idea how to make them. And when I do make them, I usually make them out of like copper material. It's really expensive, or XYZ, and I have these problems. I'm not sturdy enough. And we solved the problem. We were like, we'll make it out of steel. And she was like, but if I make it out of steel, I can't weld it because I don't know how to weld. And I was like, huh.
Here we go, another idea.
Yeah, and this one was really, I don't know, it just felt really, really natural. Because my partner is a welder. He does all of the welding. He creates all of these costume frames and things. And people kept saying, will you teach me how to weld? Would you be able to do like a workshop where you teach me how to weld? And I was like, good. But when we look at the industry of people who are wanting to make these frames, they don't have hundreds of pounds to spend on these courses. So I was like, so this is a market who is usually an underprivileged market. They're coming from hard backgrounds. They're coming from often poverty. So what can we do here? And that's when we turned to like England Arts Council, National Lottery, and started to get funding from these places. And it is really growing quite rapidly. Like, I am so excited about this, and it is one of the things that I feel is like doing the most good. Because it's not just about teaching women how to weld, it's teaching women skills like single parents can now fix their child's bike without having to rely on anybody else. They can now use power tools and put stuff up around the house. Like, they would usually have to ask like an uncle or a friend or a partner to put up a shelf because they've never been taught how to use a drill. I'm not saying there's all women out there can't use a drill, but the majority, we're going to ask a man to do it. So it's all about teaching women skills that are quote unquote manly.
Yeah, and it really has the equality and like another way of seeing women and being as a woman.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about for us, and that is a company that I will be cherishing and staying a part of for forever, basically. I will always be on the board of this company. I will always be on the chair of this company and making decisions about where we go, who we work with, the funding that we have. So that is it. But the long-term vision for me is to move abroad. I have no interest in staying in England. I'm too cold. I don't know how people can put up with this country. But yeah, my long-term vision is to move abroad. And
Like Spain?
Spain, maybe, probably more Dubai. I like Dubai. I like deserty places, so maybe South Spain. But yeah, I would like to just retire with a little bit of land. I want to rescue some horses, probably like a goat or something, wandering around, and just live a slow, quiet life in the sun, working remotely on my laptop. And that is what we're working towards. That's where the savings are going. That's what the investments and all of the, all the money I've saved up, that is what it's moving towards. But yeah, that's where I want to be.
I can imagine that day. I literally can imagine.
Hopefully it's not too far away. So like the deadline that I set was like before my 40th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, so like I currently have 11 years to make that happen. And I feel like the trajectory is in the right place. It's a snowball, right? Like you get it going so far and then it moves on its own momentum. But so far I'm confident we're on the right trajectory. Let's revisit in 11 years and see.
I think my last question would be, what's your biggest change in the past 3 years? From the,
Mindset is my biggest change. So, I don't know, I've always wanted more from life. And I had this feeling, I don't know why, but it just, from my perspective, it seems like everybody's life just seems to fall into place when they hit their 30s, 35 mark, and everything just falls into place and they suddenly have enough money and they buy a house and things just seem to fall into place, right? And I was like, nah, it's okay. I can just keep working, part-time in a bar, working in a call center, working in a utility company, and everything will just fall into place. Like, it's fine. And then I was like, hang on a minute. No one's coming to save me. Like, nothing is going to fall into place. If I stay here in this job, earning this salary with no progression opportunities, how's everything going to fall into place? I will still be in the same place in 10 years. I have to change. I have to do something. And I think that was it. It was like nothing's going to work unless you do. The mindset and this, I can't do this because, or I can't do that because somebody might judge me for it, or I can't do that because of this limitation, or I can't start a company because I have no money. And I literally just stopped making excuses and I started doing. And I started showing up for myself. And I think it sounds so cliche and so cheesy, but it is literally all of the mindset. And there's like a quote, and I can't remember whose it is, but what I love it, and it's, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right either way.
Oh, yeah.
If you tell yourself you can't do something, you're going to find every excuse to not even give it a go. Like,
That's pretty tricky.
And the one that I love, there's an example from a sports coach. She's called Lucy Cook. And she said, okay, so I'm going to show you how important mindset is. So I'm going to ask you if you can run 100 meters in a minute. And if you can, I'll give you £1 million. You wouldn't even hesitate, would you? You'd run 100 meters.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna check the record of the something, Wikipedia, but yeah, I will run.
You would run. You'd give it a go.
Maybe, yeah. So maybe, although I want to check, but maybe never. Yeah.
Okay, now what if she said, I'll give you £1 million if you can do it in under 12 seconds?
I would say, what if I didn't make you?
Nothing bad happens. You just won't get £1 million.
Okay, I will try.
You'd still try. Yeah. So a lot of people would probably spend too much time hesitating and think, well, even Usain Bolt can't do it that quickly, or do you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's only a few seconds behind him. And I don't think I can run that fast, and they would hesitate.
If the coach asked me, if you didn't get it, I will give you 1 million, but you can just give me like 100 pounds. Or let's say 1,000 pounds. Yeah, if that, I would be a little bit hesitating, definitely. Like, I would definitely say, okay, hold on 1 second. I need to go to toilet, and then after that, it's very how to buy something.
Yeah, the hesitation.
Yeah.
Whereas I said, like, you've got to set off in the next 10 seconds. You've just got to go. You'd hesitate, you'd panic, and you probably wouldn't do it because you'd be like, I don't think I can do it. But you're right, loss aversion is more of a thing than gains, but that's a whole different psychological concept. But yeah, most people would hesitate rather than actually just set off and run, whereas I would like to think that even if I have absolutely no chance, I would just set off and run. Like, even if I know that I don't think I can do this, but I'm going to give it my best shot because that's all I can do, because maybe I can do it. Maybe there is part of me that can run 100 meters in under 15 seconds. What if I can do it? And I just change the what if. Instead of what if it goes wrong, it's the what if it doesn't. What if everything works out? What if everything is absolutely fine? And it's just the mindset thing that changed in me. And it makes me happier in life. I feel more content in life. And all that changed is the way that I look at situations. the way that I solve problems. And instead of saying, why is this happening to me? I sort of think, I'm glad this is happening to me because this is teaching me X, Y, and Z. I'm glad that this problem has occurred because now I know. And this problem was always going to happen. And if it ever happens again in the future, I'm well equipped to deal with it now. And I sort of think of things as a blessing, and I'm more grateful for things. And I'm still not a wishy-washy mindset person. I'm still not a manifest your dreams kind of girl. And I'm still, I would probably say, quite a grumpy, pessimistic person day to day. However, my general outlook on stuff now takes a, what if everything's fine?
And you always have the calling that you won't living in a boring, monotonous life.
I think so, yeah. Like, I don't know. There's just something about a boring life that doesn't appeal to me. And nothing about my life is boring at the moment. Like, every day is a different day. Like, today I'm in a studio with you guys. Some days I am literally out lecturing in colleges. Some days I'm working with charities. Some days I am not working at all and I'm taking a day off and I'm spending time with my family. Like, it's the freedom. I absolutely love the freedom. I love the variety. And I love what I do. Like, I don't ever want to live a boring life where I'm stuck in traffic at rush hour, driving to it. Like, if I get stuck in rush hour traffic now, I'm like, I am so glad that I am doing what I do because this is not the life for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.